honorable colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for the invitation to the forum, the opportunity to speak at the panel. If you look at the ratio of the urban population to the rural population, there has been an increase of 13%. According to the information by the UN, by 2050, 67% of the people will be living in the cities. In a number of the megapolises, if you look at the population, it is more than expected. Today, if you look at the cities, they are being discerned by the intellectual growth, and they are acting as social centers. Unfortunately, with the increased urbanization, we are having some challenges. The environmental carbon print is of concern. To secure the economic growth and to make a sustainable cities, this is one of the major challenges we are having today. By 2030, in the area of the SDGs, so one of the goals, as set out in the agenda, is related to the sustainable cities. The openness and safety, security, sustainability of the cities is one of the goals in order to secure the environmentally sustainable cities. In order to have good conditions for the population, the establishing these settling conditions, including the engineering infrastructure, effective use of the environmental resources. This is one of the top priorities that we need to take into account. The management of the waste products in line with the modern standards, the proper use of the landfills. This requires to create large infrastructure, also to have fully efficient, effective waste management, collecting the rainfall and other waters, the recycling of the treated waters, especially for the irrigation of the green areas. This needs to be prioritized. Another challenge we are facing is related to the global climate changes. Today, in this sense, the risks which we are expecting and implications which are happening, these are highly relevant. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the natural disasters which have happened due to the climate changes, they have resulted in huge economic losses. Over the last 50 years, the rate of the threats has increased by 5 times. In this sense, to be well prepared for the emergency cases, this is largely dependent on the infrastructure. This is of special importance in this sense. The climate changes, given the high temperatures in summer, this has given rise to the temperature in summer, and on the other hand, it has resulted in the reduction of the rainfall, and which has led to the scarcity of water, which is of the serious challenges we are facing. It's not coincident that in a city of Sharm el-Sheikh, climate change framework convention, which is going to be held in Egypt City in the 27th conference that will take place in Egypt City, some of the initiatives will be offered. In order to achieve the sustainable cities through the initiative, a set of measures are going to be taken. In this process, one of the main components of the adaptation is related to the green areas. Increasing the green areas in the public spaces, also included in the top priorities of the Baku city master planning. According to the international criteria, the greening norms of rate would be changing between 5 and 15. And the idea is to involve and engage as many people possible in order to provide the more greening areas for the per capita. In this approach, within the framework of the master plan of the Baku city, the areas of the greening areas, which will include parks and other green corridors, it will be increased up to 3,000 hectares. And also extension of the Baku Volba is scheduled. By 2040, its length, together with other greening activities, will be more than 25 kilometers. climate change and its implications alongside with other global challenges we are facing. The other issue is related to the environmental pollution. If we look at the pollution of the area, especially in areas in large population, this is one of the most concerned issues. Large entities or industries stopping their functioning, which are not in line with the international standards, and the waste pollution coming from the industries, we observe that there's a gradual decrease of the volume of the pollution, and the increase in the income of the population, and this has resulted in the increased number of the motorbikes. 80% of the pollution is due to the increase in the number of the transports, and in order to ensure the good and effective transportation, necessary steps should be taken in order to decrease the pollution. Over the recent years, the huge investment has been made in the development of the infrastructure. Baku Intellectual Transportation Center is being further improved and enhanced. Of course, the environmentally friendly transport, and in order to the measures taken in order to have effective fuel, I think that this will speed up the transition and it will have a positive impact on the environment. The use of, in order to use the hybrid transport, all the necessary conditions have been provided. In 1920, in order to achieve the goals of the Paris, to speed up the transition to the zero emission, a number of steps have been taken. Strategic documents have been adopted by the government. I'd like to mention some of those strategic papers. Green growth and circular economy is another top priority of the government's policy. Up to now, on the improvement of the waste, solid waste, national strategy, action plans have been developed in order to also reduce the negative impact of the plastic waste. A series of the strategic papers have been adopted and implemented. National priorities of the social growth in a national strategy program, competitive human capital, modern innovation centers, including green economy. These are some of the components which are set in the document. Another priority area of the strategic paper is a big revival to the liberty lands. In the liberty lands in Azerbaijan, huge infrastructure development work is undergoing, and sustainable urban concept is being implemented. In Fizuli city, in less than 8 months, international airport was constructed. Currently, 2 other international airports are being constructed, and the master plan of the Liberty Land is ready in the Langan region to make it transfer to the Park City. This is being constructed with a vision in mind. In Liberty Lands, within the revival work, a number of significant measures, decisions have been made. The idea is to make those regions by 2050 to turn them to zero emission, green economy, green energy, green transport, smart cities, smart village concept. All these are related to the recovery of the forest, which we believe that this will make contribution to the overall efforts. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and I wish all the success, all the best to the forum. Fikirlerini bilmek çok güzel oldu ve biz burada bir sıra stajyerin olduqlarını eşitdik ve hakikaten de ben gördüm ki gələcəyə baxış çox güzel.
Решение проблем с водоснабжением. Все это
with green forestation and other strategic planning, and indeed 2050 it's a target for territories, and I hope that there will be also opportunity to have those good practices and tools also transmitted to the mainland and be implemented around Azerbaijan. With this, I would also like now to introduce Ms. Dunja Kovari. She's coming from private sector, I believe. Things to learn from the private sector, and I think it's a great opportunity to invite Dunja Kovari to present around green and blue assets for livable cities, namely for Zangilan and Kalbajar cities. So please, Dunja, the floor is yours.
Presentation. Thank you very much. Good morning. When we started to plan the 3 cities for Zangilan, Kalbajar, and Kubadli, we first had to deal with the question, what makes a city livable? And as well, because of the situation of those 3 cities, how do they get or become an incubator for innovation, for growth, and for sustainable development? And therefore, we looked at different standards, we looked at goals, we particularly took into consideration the SDG goals 11, but we looked into a lot of international benchmarks and standards, for example, such as the World Bank City Initiative or the Singapore Urban Living Laboratory, or as well the WEF, the World Economic Forum Net Zero Carbon City Initiatives. Since we are living in a time of change, we as well had to focus on megatrends. Megatrends such as transformation of the society, societal transformation, with the shift from biography to multography, and therefore with lots of different lifestyles and life models. We built cities for the future, so we really had to deal how do people live in future. Digitalization, connectivity gives us huge, tremendous opportunities on smart cities, but we as well have to deal, as we heard, with climate change and with the developments emerging from that, with climate adaptation, for example, as a really focus on our work as well. All those standards and benchmarks, even the Global Power City Index, indicated and showed that the environment is essential and key for every development. As a city planner or urban planner, a dream comes true when you are able to plan a city. And it's really truly from my heart if I say this, it was a dream to come true as well to work with Azerbaijan, because we had such great and open-minded partners when we developed these master plans. The objective of the state of Azerbaijan was to provide safe, sustainable, and dignified life for the people to return to their homelands. So the 3 master plans that we elaborated have quite something in common, but the places, they are really different, and each of those cities has its own soul, and we really try to understand those 3 cities, so they are unique too. First of all, I give you a brief overview of the work in Zangilan. Zangilan is in the southwest of Azerbaijan or Karabakh, and it has an outstanding landscape, and we wanted to put into value this landscape. So The future for Zanglian is green and clean, and the landscape and the green is the protagonist in the future development of Zangilan. You see here the master plan, and the master plan first shows that there is a lot of blue, the Oktuchai River, and there is green. There used to be the biggest platan forest in Europe, and we want to rebuild that, and we want to bring nature back into the city. But what you can see as well on this chart is that the structure is polycentric. We have one center in the middle, and for a planner now it's hard not to show on the slides. But you have in the middle, you have a center, the regional center, and you have two sub-centers in the north and in the south. And these sub-centers are essential for the 15-minute city concept, which provides services and goods within walking distance for every inhabitant in Zanglilan. And what is important too for the 15-minute city is the livable neighborhoods. Now it's ducks. You can see here the neighborhoods, they differ a lot. We have, like, they honor the diversity of the society as well. So the neighborhoods, they differ. And what you can see as well is that it is next to the built structure, there is the unbuilt structure, and this is the green. And the green is a strong element and a robust framework to the city of Zangilan. Neighborhoods are key, and neighborhoods should be accessible to everyone. So we planned community hubs within the 15-minute city and within every neighborhood. The neighborhoods, I told you, are green, and this is not so normal. We said that we want to bring or to put back the future into the city, to protect all the trees, and to have a future park city of Zanglian. We not only want to protect the trees and therefore have no underground parkings, for example, but as well the roofs on the buildings, they are all green and they are blue for water storage as well. The neighborhoods, they are mostly 2 stories. We try to make them modern and clean, but as well with a lot of reference to the history and to tradition. So you have the typology of verandas and balconies, as well as a lot of wooden facade elements. The infrastructure, the public infrastructure, wants to be green too in this city. Therefore, we developed a modular system. This school was something we developed for Zanglian, but can be adapted to Karabakh region altogether. It's a modular system that adapts to growth. And the roofs here are blue and green as well. And what is important, or a nice side effect, the shape of the school is a circle. And the circle they saw by surveys, they especially invite children to move and to play. And moving and playing for children for the development is very, very key. Not only the buildings are blue and green, but as well the whole city. And you can see this green infrastructure, including linear structures as the green fingers or the Oktuchai River, but as well parks, and of course the hill, which we want to bring back into the city. Now, we switch to Kalbatar. Kalbatar is in the north of Karabakh. It's on an elevated plateau, and it has not only an outstanding and unique topography, it has a long, long history in hot springs and in tourism. So that's why tourism was a main focus on the elaboration of the master plan. with elements like the tourist zone, with the spa park, but as well with the slow motion or the slow traffic boulevard. So we thought that health is, we saw yesterday as well with the 3 Cs, and the pandemic is one of the Cs. We got aware that health is something very important to all of us, community too, and we wanted to combine this. So it's a fitness city where movement and movement is a culture and is something like a community experience too. So we have those elements like the slow traffic boulevard, the sports park, but as well the spa park, the touristic zone, who should be designed like a fitness studio. And here's some impressions of how this might look like. And as well in Kalbadar, green is very important too. So the trees are a main character as well here in the neighborhoods and in the school where we combined as well sports facilities. And last but not least, Kubadli. Kubadli is in the north of Sanglian, and as you can see on the picture, it has an outstanding water landscape, and we wanted to put this into value, the water. We heard the water is a rare good. We have really be careful with it. So for Kubadli, we had as a fundament the sponge city concept, which tries to close the water loop and wants to have with that a good impact on urban climate, on increased biodiversity, but as well in reuse of water in the buildings. The sponge city concept, or the elements, you have elements for the buildings, you have elements for the public space and streetscape, and as well for the large-scale landscape. The design principles, as the scales differ in the elements, you can see they are really different as well in the design principle. You have, for example, green roofs and green facades for the buildings, which is a very important part of the sponge city concept, but as well the watery storage underneath the underground of the streets, or the water retention in water ponds and in the river stream itself. Whether it was now one of those elements, like the green facades and the green roofs, or artificial designed ponds and lakes, or the streets that we tried to plan climate adapted, or the canal system that goes through the whole city of Kubadli, we tried to put into value the green and the blue assets for a better and for a livable city of tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kovari. Great presentation. Indeed, we saw 3 different cities, as you mentioned, with 3 different souls, and with 3 different approach ideas for the master plan. And indeed, the health of the people, as you mentioned, it's very important, and great to see that you connect the entire city with the health and provide opportunity to be more close to the nature and provide opportunity also for further development as well for tourism. It's a great presentation. Thank you very much again. Now I would like to invite Mr. Duc Huan Sun. He's a senior officer, Policy, Legislation and Governance Section, Urban Practice Branch, Global Solution Division, UN Habitat. He will talk about the national urban policies, spatial and economic strategies, transformative power for recovering processes and transition enabled to green future. As we know, when we are developing the cities, aside the development of the urban planning, we also need to consider the economic development and future activities. Please, Mr. Duke, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm the Kwanson Senior Program Officer of PLG Association of UN Habitat. Today, I'm going to present NUP Spatial and Economic Strategies. As there's so many pages, so I'm a baker quick. Thank you. And so this is the outline of the today's PPTs. It's an overview of NUP and application of NUP and country examples and NUP tools. Responses, firstly, this is an overview of NUP. And what is NUP? So, National Urban Policy is a coherent set of decisions derived through a deliberate government-led process of coordination and rallying various actors for common vision and goals that promote more transformative, productive, and inclusive and resilient urban development for the long term. So NUP has been recognized as key tool to implement and monitor global agenda such as NUA and SDGs at national and local level. And NUP was adapted to first indicator for SDG 11, and so NUP has continued accelerating national and local government interest in developing and implement urban policies. And NUP is also one of the pillars of NUA. So NUP is related with local land governance, ministerial coordination, and attribution of the function to subnational and local governments, and general financial framework for subnational or local governments. And why NUP matters is NUP is central tool available for governance and government and policymakers to facilitate the management and direction of urbanization. That means the NUP can facilitate conditions that are connected to turn urbanization into productive force at the local, regional, and national level, as well as promote the socially, economically, environmentally sustainable growth of human settlements. So, NUP has three main pillars: is participation, capacity development, and acupuncture projects. Participation is integrating participatory process through the policy page. Capacity development is the sustainable process of individual and organizational change and enable organizations and individuals to achieve their development objectives. And acupuncture projects ensure that the policy directives are relevant, implementable. It also a good chance for revision of the policy if challenges are encountered. Hence, it can promote an interactive policy design. And NUPs consist of the 5 pages: feasibility, diagnosis, formulation, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. Feasibility is to determine the viability of NUP while providing the framework and directions for its development and delivery. Diagnosis entails a stakeholder in gathering the facts and figures. Formulation is that policymakers make sure they agree on policy vision, objectives, principles, options, and strategies and actions to be taken. Implementation means the policy proposal and plan completed during formulation phase will be translated into actionable items. Lastly, monitoring and evaluation, we can consider effectiveness of the process and success of outcomes. And this is a diagram illustrates how NUP works. Feasibility and diagnosis, formulation, implementation, monitoring, evaluation are circulated process, and participation, capacity development, acupuncture projects are applied the entire page of the NUP. Yeah, so, sorry, it's not moving. Yes, next is application of NUP. UN Habitat and partners have developed normative guideline and knowledge products for thematic areas into NUP. These includes various thematic applications such as climate change, slum upgrading, social inclusion, urban-rural linkage, and housing, green smart cities, and so forth. For the thematic scope of NUP, special structure has highest attention with 80% NUP giving moderate or extensive extension, and human development and economic development and environmental sustainability are next with 79%, 67%, 65% respectively. And this is comparison of the thematic scope of between in 2018 and in 2021. And this is a regional variation in thematic scope of NUP in 2021. Since 2014, UN Habitat have supported 56 NUP and SUP. That includes one global program, 56 NUP program, and 4 regional and 2 subnational programs. And for your understanding of NUP, I will introduce example of country NUP supported by UN Habitat. First is Liberia NUP. In 2013, with technical support of UN Habitat, Liberia government initiated the NUP. Liberia has experienced extreme migration patterns after civil war. Population increased from 2.1 billion to over 4.7 billion. And between 2000 and 2020, urban population have grown from 1.9 billion and 2.6 million. And by 2050, Liberia's urban population expected almost triple to 6.7 billion, with 68% of the people living in urban area. And this is a need for the Liberia NUP. For current limitation of the Liberia, low enforceable capacity, shortage of sanitation, beautification, and maintaining public order, and ineffectiveness of a top-down scheme were diagnosed. Improving point by NUP were sufficient capacity, spatial planning, and decentralization. Hence, NUP goals were set up by impossible capacities, guided informal settlements transformation, and encouraging democratic process. And this is process and steps in Liberia. And this is the methodology of Liberia's NUP. Liberia NUP is based on information and data gathered during the feasibility, diagnosis, and formulation phase. The approach and methodology to formulating the Liberia's NUP is generally guided by Liberia's unique situation and practical NUP guide of UN Habitat. Each NUP process was tool for implementation of the NUP and SDGs. For each, 10 outcomes were presented, and 4 focus areas are also suggested. Sorry. And second NUP example of Korea is Korea-funded NUP page 1 and page 2. Korea NUP page 1 aimed to develop NUPS and smart city strategies in 3 countries, Niger State, Iran, and Myanmar, from 2017 to 2022. And page 2 will be launched this year for scaling up people-centered smart cities through NUP. In this project, 5 countries, Mozambique, Egypt, Azerbaijan, Cambodia, and Paraguay, and other 8 countries will be supported. In Korea NUP, people-centered smart city approach is important. People-centered smart cities use innovation and technology to make urban life better for residents. For people-centered smart cities approaches, empowering people, responsibility to managing data and digital infrastructure, building multi-stakeholder capacity, and equitable access to technology and building trust by securing digital assets are needed. This is a summary report of Korea NUP1. Each country's NUP reports and smart cities reports. As part of the project, demonstration projects were implemented in the 3 countries which responded to COVID-19 pandemic, upgrading living conditions in former settlements. And during the World Urban Forum 2022 in Katowice in Poland, UN Habitat and the government of South Korea, 3 countries of phase 1 shared their experience during development of their NUP. The event was also a platform to introduce phase 2. And this is part of the Azerbaijan from project document of Korea NUP2. It's for improving environmental management and resilience, strengthening of the institutional potential, development of the human capital. UN Habitat will support Azerbaijan government to develop integrated approach by NUP. Lastly, this is NUP normative and knowledge products. These are guiding framework, feasibility guide, global and regional reports. And these are National Urban Forum to support NUP, learning manual, thematic NUP reports on climate change, slum upgrading, and public space. You can use them from UN Habitat's website. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Duc Van Son. Another great presentation that we have this morning. And I will just probably take 3 points from the presentation, if you allow me. The first one is the connection with the SDGs and the national policies and standards, which is important part that these two needs to be very well connected in order for national urban policies to be developed in a right way. The second, it's the collaboration, basically, that needs to be established between the national agencies and also the specialized UN agencies, such as UN Habitat, who is providing standards and tools for the national institutions. And number 3, I think you mentioned also the people-centered smart cities. I think through all these 3 presentations actually that we saw today, this morning, I think this is what we are seeing, that indeed we are moving forward to people-centered smart cities, and consultation with those people, it's also very important. So I think it's also very interesting that in the future, when revival of the Karabakh is going to take place, that within the people are also consulted and the IDPs are consulted in that process. So thank you very much for your time. I think now I would like to open the floor for any questions or comments from the public. Okay, so I think we do not have any questions. I would like to thank very much today's participants, and it's a great pleasure to have you all.
Dear participants, we now announce any break, please. Our session is continuing. Can you please take your seats? Thank you.
Okay, please. Mr. Vahid Hajiev.